This is Keldeo EX, a 170 hit point attacker with the ability Rush In and the attack Secret Sword. I'm pretty sure if memory serves, you just bench this and switch in for your main attacker, which would be Blastoise. It has Secret Sword, which does 50 plus 20 for each water energy attached to this Pokemon, so minimum of 3, so what, 50 plus 60, I know this. I can do the maths, I know this, is 110. Plus whatever energy you wish to put on it, any extra energy. So that's cool. Next up we have two copies of Blastoise. This has 140 hit points with the ability Deluge and the attack Hydro Pump. As often as you'd like during your turn, before you attack, naturally, you may attach a water energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. This just speeds up energy transference, really handy for any water deck. Hydro Pump does 10 more for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. So it does 60 plus 10 for each, and it needs a minimum of 4 on, so that's 100 minimum. For 140 hit points, I'm pretty sure this is out of rotation now, but it's a pretty cool card nonetheless. Then we have, if I can get my hands on them, 2 War Turtles. You pretty much just use this as a go-between between Squirtle and Blastoise. Preferably use the Rare Candy route if you have 4 of them. But I recommend War Turtle for a structured build. Is actually pretty good. I would recommend it for this build, just 2. But if you have Rare Candy, I wouldn't blame you for using 4 of those. With Withdraw and Waterfall. So nothing too special, but that's not what it's for. Next stop we have 3. Is it 3? It could be 3, might be 4. I'm not sure. It's yeah, if I can get my hands sorted there. We have 3 Squirtles with Shell Shield and Water Splash. Again, this is pretty much you bench this, go into War Turtle, and then evolve into Blastoise as soon as possible. That's the idea for that. Then we have a Regice, which has Ice Beam and Resistance Blizzard. Pretty cool. Nothing too special. Not really keen on the artwork, kind of cartoonish for my liking, but for a structure deck, that's fine. Then we have two of one of my favourite cards, which is Lapras. 100 hit points. Call for Family. You can search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. It has an attack if you wish to use it called Reckless Charge, which does 40 and does 20 damage to itself. So it's not really that useful, but you know, it's there. It's there. Then we have a sort of full art or semi-full art card, which is Articuno, which is just badass artwork. I love the fact that it pops really well. Then we have 2 Milotics with Sparkling Ripples and Aqua Swirl. Pretty good, 110 hit points. I remember this card from Primal Clash. It wasn't too good, but I have it in holo, so that's pretty good. Holographic version. 2 Feebas. Naturally, you're going to need to evolve into Milotic, so it has Adadash, which just lets you flip 2 coins, and I think for each heads you get to draw 2 cards. If you get 2 heads, that is. You draw a card for each heads, essentially. Then we have a Remoraid and an Octillery. Abyssal Hand, once during your turn, before you attack, you may draw cards until you have 5 in your hand, so this just lets you replenish your hand. And obviously you need Remoraid to evolve into Octillery. Like Remoraid, not a big fan of Octillery, was never a big fan of the Johto version of Octillery. Plus this artwork's kind of cartoony. Looks like he's been sunburnt really badly. Next up we have 2 Stadium cards, which is Rough Seas. Once during another player's turn, that player may heal 30 damage for each of his or her water and electric type Pokemon. So if you build a dual type deck with electric and water, Rough Seas can work. Wouldn't recommend it in real life, pretty dangerous. Archie's Ace in the Hole, which sounds like a tremendous euphemism. You can play this card when it's the last card in your hand. You put a water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench and then draw 5 cards. Pretty much a last resort. That's when you want to play it. Then we have Skylar. I really like Skylar. You search your deck for a trainer card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck afterwards. Fisherman. Put 4 basic energy from your discard pile into your hand. Recycling water energy is pretty efficient in this deck, especially with the transition from Keldeo to Blastoise. It's really handy to have. Then we have Karen. Each player shuffles all Pokemon in his or her discard pile into their deck, so it's essentially like a recycle card. Love that Umbreon in the background is poised. He or she is poised and ready to attack. Then we have 2 copies of Professor Sycamore. Standard, pretty much a replacement for Oak. You discard your hand and draw 7. Tino, dude from X and Y, just lets you draw 3 cards, nothing too special there. A Professor Birch's Observations, you shuffle your hand into your deck and flip a coin. If heads, draw 7, if tails, draw 4. So, you know, it's not too bad. Maybe keep it at 1, I would recommend. N, really annoying character from Gen 5. Some people love him, some people hate him. I wasn't a big fan of him. Each player shuffles his or her hand into their deck, then each player draws a card for each of his or her remaining prize cards. This is a card you want to play early game. You want to play this ideally when you have 6 prize cards. the later you play this card, the more it's going to end up biting you in the arse. Then we have Bianca. You draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand, so again, just a way to replenish your hand. Lysander, the so-called evil dude from Gen 6. You switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with his or her active, so it's kind of like basically it's a switch, but with Lysander. Then we have Shauna for the supporter. You shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 5. Pretty simple there in the forest. Teammates. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand and shuffle your deck afterwards. So it has its downsides, but you know, it's a pretty standard supporter card, nothing too special there. Moving on to the item cards now, we have not 1 but 2 superior energy retrievals. This is really good for getting back energy. You do have to discard, but again, for a late game card, it's pretty good, especially when you're just trying to retrieve water energy. Next up, we have Dive Ball. You search your deck for a water Pokemon, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck afterwards. I do have this in Gold Rare somewhere, but, you know, common reprints are nice. And then to support the deck, I would rather run 4 Dive Balls for a Mono Water, but this deck doesn't come with it. It comes with 2 Ultra Balls. So, again, more searching. One of my favourite cards in the deck, other than Dive Ball, in terms of items, is Rare Candy. This is simply to get out Blastoise, nothing more, nothing less. Professor's Letter. You search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them and put them in your hand, and then you shuffle your deck afterwards. We have a VS Seeker. You put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand, so that's good for recycling. And then the last item card we have is Escape Rope. Each player switches his or her active Pokemon with one of his or her benched Pokemon. Your opponent switches first. If a player does not have a benched Pokemon, he or she does not switch Pokemon. Yeah, pretty much a Primal Clash classic. Yeah, it's pretty standard, it's so-so. And then however many cards were left are water energies, including quite a few hollows. Obviously, the rest are just water energies. I'm not going to count them. I think there's about 16 or however many left over. Basically, the leftover cards are water energies, with some being pretty hollow, so that's pretty cool.